All right, welcome back to another episode of Fresh Juice, an indie game podcast where we talk about some of the hottest, coolest, and maybe sometimes not the best games in the indie game sphere coming out these days. And I am one of your hosts, Tommy Fresh, and joined as always, it is
Matty Juice. What is up, everybody? It is January 1st, 2024, where we're recording this episode. So I hope you had a good New Year. And Tommy, how was your New Year?
It was good. I was at your house. It was
You were,
and I slept there, and I accidentally set off the alarm this morning when I was leaving. Sorry about that. Although I don't know if you heard it, but your wife certainly did because she had to go turn it off.
I was out.
Yeah. I wish I was also out because I'm tired. But it's been a long day. New Year's was fun. It's great to see some people. I haven't seen a bunch of them in a hot minute, and we're gonna see a bunch of them again in 2 weeks at a wedding, which should be a lot of fun. But it was fun. Ate some good food, drank some good beer. Packers won. So now we control our own destiny on getting to the playoffs, which is incredible, to be honest. I mean, this is not a football podcast. It's almost a running bit that we talk a little bit about football and say it's not a football podcast. But I'm stoked because first year starter in Jordan Love and super exciting. But How was your?
Just gotta get in.
Yeah, just gotta got it. Yeah, listen. I think the fact that we are playing for the playoffs in the last game of the season, I think is already a win.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty awesome. But what about you, buddy? What's going on? How was your New Year's? You were there.
It was great. I was there. Yeah. No, it was great. Yeah, I definitely was hungover today, so that's a sign of a good New Year's. I wasn't too bad or anything like that. But slept like a rock. Went out to lunch today, had some good lunch, and just been trying to recharge today before the work week, But it's been solid, it's been good, and I'm excited for this year, especially for the pod. I think it's going to be a great year for the pod, So, for those of you listening, make sure you listen in on December 31st, 2024, because we're going to be in our mansion in the Hamptons recording that episode. All right. It's going to be a huge year for the podcast. But no, I had a great New Year's, and I'm not really one to I don't know. I always feel like a lot of people make a bigger deal out of New Year's. It's really nothing is happening, other than the date changing. So I've never really been someone super into New Year's, but it was always good to get together with friends and everything and just hang out. But Well,
I think it's a good opportunity to party a little bit, I guess, and almost everybody always has the day off the next day, so there's that. I was a little hungover too, but I felt like I was less hungover and more just dried out. Which happens a lot when you're drinking and having a good time. But, and we live in New Jersey, and not to dox ourselves, but we've only mentioned it 10 million times on the podcast already. But, in the winter, you just have the heat blasting, and that just naturally dries you out. Every morning, even if I'm not hungover, I'm just so dry. So the first thing I did, we went to Wawa and I got a coconut water, which was actually really helpful, and I'm very grateful for that. To start off the new year with some coconut water. But then we painted today, and now my back really hurts from painting the ceiling. But it doesn't hurt, dude. Talking about indie games, and especially the game that we're going to review, the Gnorp Apologue, which, wow, what a name. This is not something that any of us would have even thought would ever be a name of something. But here we are, and we're going to review that game. But before we do, I do want to get to some news. But also, hey, this is a great time. Brand new year. Check out our socials at Fresh Juice Pod on everything. It's the best way to keep up with what the podcast is doing. And hey, if you're all like Discord, maybe we'll make a Fresh Juice Discord at some point. I think that would be a really cool way for just people to talk about indie games in general and have a little bit of a community. So maybe we look at that in the future.
Yeah.
Comment below if that's what you want, right?
Do it. Yeah.
Discord.
Great place for listener questions, too. You guys just send them right on Discord. We get them right to our inbox. Pretty easy. Pretty easy.
Pretty
Yeah.
easy. And then you get to,
Yeah.
bully us about our ratings if you want, which,
Oh, yeah.
I love to be bullied. So, it's, we're just coming out of the holiday week here. Not a lot of news, but you did find something that was posted on Kotaku.
Yes. So I actually didn't see this, I guess, just because all the holiday stuff going on. But apparently, Xbox has been getting slammed online because in one of their tweets that was promoting indie games, ID at Xbox is like their kind of department at Xbox that focuses on indie games. They tweeted out basically just saying, it says walking in an indie wonderland. What were your favorite indie games of the year? And they attached a picture that was AI generated. And so that is the reason they're getting destroyed on Twitter. And at first glance, like, you might not think it was an AI image, but this article from Kotaku digs into like the little faces on the people and just like these little oddities that keep like that AI just doesn't get right, at least for right now. And yeah, it does look weird. Like, you take a little closer look at this picture and it's like kind of odd. And obviously this is not something, when you talk about indies, and it's something we even talked about before we started the podcast. Cause like, I'm kind of more into AI and everything. And so I was like, hey, like, how could we like use AI for like maybe our logo or something like that? Like, just to get ideas and, all that sort of stuff. And then you made a great point. You're like, yo, we're doing an indie podcast. Like, it's all about helping out these smaller developers and also the artists as well. So like doing something that's AI generated is kind of just like a contradiction to the entire idea of indie in a way. So at least in this case, especially with someone like Xbox, where clearly they have the resources to hire an artist to make an image for like it's not even an important tweet, like it's just like a tweet, just like, that they need to kind of have during the holiday season when they know not a lot of people are going to be looking at it. But it is definitely not a good look by them. I'm sure that they learned their lesson at this point, but I also don't think this is going to be the end of it. I think there's going to be a lot of AI generated stuff from these larger companies in the coming years, but hopefully they can kind of do it in a way where you're not able to tell, because this was very easy to tell if you just took more than like 10 seconds to look at the picture. But yeah, curious to know kind of what you think about this, Tom.
Well, this is not the first time I've seen something like this happen. I believe Magic the Gathering, which is a game that I used to play, did the same thing, and I think that the outrage was even greater there because every Magic the Gathering card has art that is from an artist that they hire.
Yeah.
And you're like, and they also have their own assets that they have artists do. It's like,
yeah.
And looking at this Xbox thing, like, you're telling me like even an intern or something like that couldn't just mock up something real quick,
right?
Even like, just throw some clip art or something going on. Like,
yeah.
It's just funny because it shows where the corporate mindset is going, I think. And to bring it back to Magic the Gathering, right? They WotC, Wizards of the Coast, and Hasbro let go of a lot of artists in those big layoffs that we mentioned a couple weeks ago, and you start to wonder, is like, are we going to just start seeing large corporations, not even just video game ones, but like it could be anything, or just like forgo hiring artists altogether, right? I mean,
yeah.
Businesses exist to make a profit, and if they think that's going to help the bottom line, I could see that being a reality. It's unfortunate, but the nice thing is, if people are keen to it, right, they see that it's AI, like, and we saw it with this tweet, right, that people saw it and they were pissed off. You will get a flashback, and maybe that will affect your sales. So it's a complicated issue, but it is kind of funny that Xbox thought like you gotta know, at least on Twitter, people get mad on Twitter just because they're on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even like they just find something to be mad about. And God forbid you post something and give them a real reason to be mad. Then they're like, it's like everybody's mad. So like it is funny and it's kind of unfortunate, but you hope they learn their lesson. I doubt they will. Like Xbox, I mean, who they don't really care, right? Like I think
Yeah.
they're like, oh well, we'll just delete it. We'll let it blow over, and then like we'll inspect the AI art that we put out there to make sure it's not
Yeah.
obviously AI art, right? So it's an interesting scenario, and I don't know. You see it more and more, I think, and I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it, but you know, not much we could do except talk about it and like and kind of try to hurt the wallets of people who are kind of like taking away jobs from artists. But
yeah,
that's my
yeah,
take on it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I think that even for this image here, it has the word, like AI is not good at like writing words, so I have to imagine because it has like the Xbox words in it. It says like ID, and then there's Xbox underneath for the listeners out there that aren't looking at it. So I have to imagine they brought this AI image into like Photoshop or something and added in the Xbox logo in there, which makes me just think, why didn't you just do everything in Photoshop then? Or why does it have to be so detailed? You could have just had like, it could have just been snow and it could have just said ID at Xbox. Like it didn't have to be like an image. It didn't even matter. Like it's just kind of very odd because I feel like a lot of the backlash I've seen for AI, it's been for like final products, right? Like like Marvel's used it in like some of their intros or for like one of their shows. It's like these finished products that like companies are using AI for, and that's where people get really mad because obviously there's a lot of opportunity there for artists to make money. But then for something like this, where like this tweet doesn't even matter like at all, and like you're using it there, it's like it's almost just like you're taunting it in front of everybody because you're just like, oh, yeah, we could have probably paid a few $100 to like an artist to make an image, but we're just gonna do this anyway when you didn't even need to do it at all. This tweet at all. So anyway, yeah, just not to keep harping on like the AI stuff, but it is very interesting. And also Microsoft's at like the forefront of a lot of AI. They have ChatGPT integrated into like their products and all that sort of stuff. So they're not going away from AI. Xbox isn't going away from AI at any point, but hopefully, at least in the indie world, AI, maybe 10 years down the line, it'll be a little bit more normal, but I'm hoping that like indies can hold out and not use AI, at least like from the art standpoint. I'm fine with using it, if organizational or kind of an assistant sort of thing, maybe to help you code, whatever it is. But just from the art side, it's definitely a larger conversation. But yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah,
from
it's
Xbox.
just it's funny that you point out that they like probably photoshopped the Xbox in, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
all right, then you're already doing, and like the point of AI is to like not do work, right? Like you just like give them a prompt and it does it. You're doing work, so like why not just do like it's so easy. Like and the Xbox actually looks good in the image, right? It kind of looks neat. So like obviously that was working if that was AI, but I doubt it is because like you said, the words or the letters tend not to look as good, but
yeah,
neither here nor there. Actually, what's funny about Xbox? Now, I don't know if this is true, right? I heard it on TikTok, and I've decided it's true because it was a cool story, and we can fact check it later. But the creator of Xbox, I forget his name, also discovered a way to bring back or like rejuvenate a ancient yeast.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I saw the same video.
Yeah.
Yep.
An ancient yeast that like the ancient Egyptians used, right, to make bread, right? And he was making bread with this ancient yeast because yeast you could just reuse because it's like a living organism, right? And he loves sourdough bread. And when you make sourdough bread, you score it on top like an X. And then you look at the logo of Xbox, and it looks like sourdough. Like it blew my mind. Now it could be fake. Yeah. Somebody was like, "That kind of looks like sourdough bread." I'm gonna make up something about sourdough bread and Xbox. But That was a funny story. I don't know.
Yeah.
You think
No,
it's real?
I saw the same thing, and I believe, yeah, it is true. Well, so as it is true that he's into sourdough bread. His name is Seamus Blackley, and he designed the Xbox in 2001. So that is true. The bread part. I don't know about the logo part though.
Oh yeah, I think that was just a
Obviously,
coincidence, right?
yeah,
Like,
but it does look super similar though.
yeah, like I think
Like
this guy
it,
really likes bread.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, that was just I love finding out that stuff of like someone that, clearly made a huge impact, you know, and then they also make an impact like in something else that's like a completely different category. Just like
Yeah.
did you know like I don't know, the CEO of Hasbro also like I don't know, can run a 4-4 or like something
Yeah, the
like just like
CEO of
ridiculous
Hasbro.
like
So the interesting thing about the guy who created Hasbro was that
yeah.
growing up, he had a brother. He has a bro, so he was like, "This is
Oh.
Hasbro." Um,
Oh.
yeah, I don't. I mean,
Wow, really? I
I,
mean, I believe it.
you know what's funny? I saw another TikTok that was like the only way, or not the only way, the way you get a viral podcast. And this is some inside baseball for all the listeners, all the juice heads out there. You might be witnessing us kind of figure out how we're going to be viral. Is you need one person who says something, and or one person who doesn't know what something is, and the other person to be like, "How do you not know what this is? This is the craziest thing ever. Everybody knows what this is." So we're gonna have to
Yep.
figure out what one of us, or just pretend. No, I've never heard of skim milk.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
I've never had milk in my life.
I don't like milk. You do like milk.
I do, but I have the lactate milk nowadays, which I still tastes good, but it's not the same. But this is not a milk related podcast though, is it, Tom?
Well, not until we start milking this juice. I don't know about that, but we do have a review for you all. We have a game called the Gnorp Apologue. I'm hoping, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm guessing. It's up for interpretation.
I think so.
It's the journey of the Gnorps as you
It is.
guide them towards their goal of delightfully excessive wealth accumulation. Can you add on to this description for the listeners, because this is an interesting game. It's taking the world by storm right now.
Yeah. So this game, it does not take itself seriously. And it's a clicker game, so you're just using your mouse for the whole thing. It kind of runs itself in a way. But yeah, you're basically controlling all these little characters named Gnorps, and you're trying to get them rich by there's a kind of a rock that's in the middle of the arena that you're in, the map. And that rock spits out shards, and that's your currency. So your goal is to use the Gnorps to basically hit that rock, get those shards, and just keep building things, keep accumulating that wealth. So, without getting too much into the gameplay aspect, that's kind of it from a high level. I'd say, it does have that kind of vampire survivory kind of vibes to it, but definitely something that like is, doesn't need your full attention like Vampire Survivors. But it kind of has like those similar kind of vibes to it. But yeah, no, it's definitely a really interesting game. $7 on Steam. It's currently only on Steam for right now. And I believe I don't know for sure, but I think it is a one-person development studio. I was trying to look into it on their website, but I couldn't really find that information there. But it's developed by Myco, MYCO, and that's also the publisher. So yeah, definitely a game that hasn't been out for a while. I think it's only been out about 2 weeks, and it's got a perfect score on Steam right now. So that kind of piqued our interest. And Tommy, what did you think of the gameplay?
Yeah, so we were at the end of our podcast last week. We're like, oh, we don't have a game for next week. Let's just look real quick on Steam, and I just went to like new and noteworthy, and I was like, what's this like $7 game? Gnorp Apologue. It's a weird name. I go, and then like I'm like reading the reviews, and the reviews are kind of funny, right? Because I don't think any of them talked about the game at all, and that's actually what made me want to play it, because it's just people making Gnorp jokes.
Yeah,
in the comments, which is hilarious. And I was like, okay, well, we got to figure out what this game's all about. So, the gameplay, pretty simple. You kind of nailed it on the head. You are clicking, and then I guess you can hold space or the right clicker to move the landscape, so that you can see like other buildings you've built, and what to do with the upgrades and stuff like that. So you basically start out, there's this rock that you're trying to like get the little pieces out off of it, the shards, and each shard is a currency, right? And you use that currency to build more things, to like give housing for your Gnorps, to let them meditate, stuff like that, like different kind of weapons that they use to break this big boulder thing and to create more shards. And that is really the extent of it, right? I love this game. The gameplay. It's like the gameplay was just super simple, right? It's a time waster. I love a good time waster because, listen, I shouldn't be wasting my time, but I do anyway. And I like doing it when I'm having fun. And this game is interesting in a way where you don't even have to pay attention to it really, right? You can just like have it running and then like kind of come back to it and just build things with all the things that you collected, right? And you get a skill tree, which is kind of cool. Like it's so basic yet deep in a way.
Yeah.
Like the different things that you can do with these stupid little Gnorps. And I don't know. It's funny. Like they look weird. It's just like little dudes kind of running around the bottom of the screen, and you kind of, it's fun to see what they start doing when you upgrade something. And that's the gameplay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not much to talk about gameplay wise. It's very straightforward. It gives you tips, which is nice, up in the left-hand corner as you're going, when they're relevant, and you can turn them off or just click them away. And I found it to be easy to pick up, and you're right into the thick of it. There's no frills that you gotta, they're not trying to be fancy here, and you just Gnorp around. Not really sure what Apologue means. Maybe I should look that up, but Gnorp. Give it a good.
It's a moral fable, especially one with animals as characters. So I guess Gnorps are animals. Confirmed.
All right, Apologue. I guess interesting. So So like they're kind of building this mythos about Gnorps, but without like really giving you much about them, and it's fun. I like the gameplay is fun. I like when even when you're not paying attention and you get the little reward of coming back to it, and then you get to do more stuff and see what it is, because you could interact with the boulder too if you want. You could break out some shards from the boulder. I think that's actually how you have to start the game, and then you could choose how to spend your resources. There's no wrong way to do it, I don't think. And what'd you think, Matt?
Yeah, no, I love the gameplay. I it's one of those games where like you look at it, like if you look up a video of it, you're gonna be like, what is going on? Like this doesn't even make sense. Like it just looks like mayhem, but it really is just like the gameplay. I thought was really well thought out, because you kind of have that rock that never breaks in the middle. That's always shooting those shards out. And then basically anything to the right of the rock is going to be stuff that you've built that helps collect the shards. And they deposit it into your bank. So that was kind of easy to understand. And then basically everything to the left of the rock is going to be stuff that you can set up that hits the rock. So I had like archers that were shooting arrows, or like guys with like that drop bombs on the rock, like all these Gnorps. I won't say guys. I'll try to say Gnorps for all these these things. So that's essentially like the gameplay. I thought I was going to be like kind of overwhelmed by this game, to be honest, just because of like what I was looking up beforehand, and I was like, okay, this is, I kind of set aside, a good amount of time to play it. And I found, within the first 10 minutes, I was like, I completely understand how this game works. And I also have to say, from like the gameplay standpoint, it kind of feels like sometimes like, okay, essentially like all these buildings and you have housing and you have like I actually have the game up right now because I've just been having it minimized because it kind of just runs itself and then you just kind of go in and manage things. So like you have like a cafe you can build or like the propulsion lab, let's see, like the rock analysis lab. And then you can also build things like the housing or like a robotics lab, all this sort of stuff that gives you more options on what to do, right? Like you can get more different types of Gnorps, ones with guns, ones with arrows, ones that climb the mountain of shards and like destroy the shards for you and like pass them over to your bank, all this sort of stuff. So there were a lot of times in the game where I was like, okay, I've fully upgraded everything, or like almost everything, and I'm like, okay, I must be getting kind of towards like the end of the game. Like there's not much to it, and then all of a sudden there's like a new building that gets unlocked, or like just new options pop up because I did something that I haven't done before. I bought something that I've never bought before in the game. So it just kind of kept surprising me from like the gameplay standpoint. I kind of thought it was going to be more like I thought it was going to be like an overwhelming kind of shallow game, and it ended up being like a simple um like deep game in a way. Like I could probably sit here, I could play this like all week. I don't even I'm even contemplating like should I even close the game this week and just see how much I can, how many shards can I collect like throughout the entire week. Like this is such a one of those games that like you can just have up while you're playing another game. I know people used to do that all the time with like Maple Story or even like Hearthstone. Like I've always seen like people will have it up while they're playing something else. Maybe they're playing like an MMO that like they're waiting for people to sign on, so they just open up another game. This is perfect for that. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to just open up this game while you're doing something else, while you're watching football, while you're doing whatever, this is like an awesome game for that. So yeah, I think overall like the gameplay I thought was just a lot better than I was expecting it to be. And I just like that the game can kind of run itself, but you still do need to go in and like manage things. You can't just like leave it running. I mean, I'm sure you can, but if you really want to be efficient and you want to try to get, because basically like your efficiency in the game, it has kind of a meter of your efficiency, and every time you kind of fill up that meter with efficiency, you get a point, like a skill point, and there's a whole skill tree. But in order to actually apply those points in the skill tree, you have to prestige in the game. So you basically have to restart your game in order to even upgrade your skill tree. So it forces you to not really have the game running all the time, unless you're being really efficient with it. So even if I ran this all week and I didn't touch anything, I probably wouldn't gain any like efficiency points and be able to use them in the skill tree. So I still need to attend to the game and make sure that like I'm doing things as best as I can. So I thought that was really cool as well because it encourages that replay value. It's not a game you're just going to set aside. It's similar to Vampire Survivors in that way, where like you unlock things in the main menu and then you play. And, you kind of go back and forth. It's not like you can just do a full playthrough in kind of one sitting. So yeah, overall though, gameplay, loved it, loved it.
Yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I'm just reading about this game while you're talking. I'm like, you know, it's just the developer obviously knows that they're onto something here, right? And and it's awesome that it blew up. Now, that's just the gameplay, and I think that's going to be the largest chunk of what's appealing here. But we should touch on the story. There is a little bit of story, right? You're
yeah,
basically you have to understand why you're doing the Norping here, right? With your Norps, and basically it's like, well, you just want to expand this boulder thing as your resources, and you almost like imagine it like you are at the beginning of a planet. I think it's like
hmm
it's like the groundwork's laid there for a story. There's no like real story happening, but you can kind of make it whatever you want in a way. A lot like how the game ends up playing out. Because to me, I'm like, okay, I am maybe just crash landed on this planet, or I'm on this planet and these Gnorps are the first life forms on this planet, and you're basically simulating civilization, right? Kind of expanding. And that's pretty much the extent of it, let's be honest. But it's kind of cool to see, well, like the same thing with civilization, right? It starts with more people happening, more Gnorps, coming onto this planet. All right, well, we have more Gnorps. We need to build buildings to house these Gnorps, right? And this is, happened on Earth with humans. So you get to that, and then all of a sudden, well, we need to get more resources. So we need to like train these Gnorps to get resources. We need better technology to get more resources. So we're going to start using those resources to get better technology. And it's just kind of funny that it's like just plays out like that's how mankind is, I think. Hopefully the Gnorps don't really, destroy the planet or anything like that. But that's my take on the story. I wonder if it is what it is. It's Gnorp. So
it's Gnorp, and I think you covered it pretty much with the story. Not a lot of story elements here, but definitely there's something. It's not like it's nothing, There's definitely something there, and I think it could be fun if like there was maybe a story mode that got added or something like that. That maybe because there's different types of Gnorps, right? There's like the Mountaineer Gnorps that do different things. Like all these kind of Gnorps have different roles. So you could, in a way, I mean, they did recently have an update where they added hats to those. I guess before that, like all the Gnorps kind of looked the same, even though they had different roles. So now, like certain Gnorps have different hats, I believe. So apologies because I didn't really play before that update, so I'm not sure what it was like before that. But that could kind of lend itself to a story in a way of like, hey, at least they kind of look different. Like could kind of be fun there. But yeah, not really. If you're looking for story with a time killing kind of game, it's going to be hard to find any game. I think that's a time killer that really has a story. So. Not a lot going on with the story there, but I know for the art, there is some stuff to talk about here. The art's not super complicated, but what did you think about the art style for this game?
It's simple. It's certainly simple, and I think it plays well to the gameplay. Basically, and also just I have a statement on the hats.
Okay.
I'm looking at the update. There was like a newsletter kind of thing on the website. Hats are coming. The second gift in the announcement is hats. Many of you have stated that you are in utter contempt about the fact that Mountaineers are the only Gnorps with hats. So I've come up with a solution for you. Gnorps will get hats. Specific hats for specific achievements is what I'm currently thinking, and this is from December 23rd. So like that was a quick turnaround on the hats, right?
Yeah.
So that is kind of funny. I mean, it just shows. I'm just reading what the developer has been writing on the website, and obviously is fully aware of how ridiculous this Gnorp thing is, and is very tongue in cheek, but. The visuals, it's interesting. You start off, you got some trees. It's like, just one landscape, right? 2D. And it's, I guess, not black and white. It's more like navy and white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it starts, yeah.
Yeah. So you got your little dudes, your Gnorps, that basically look like C's, like a text C with two legs and eyes and a mouth. And they run around, and that's where it starts. And then you get to see like the kind of cool things when they add other colors, right? And the other colors start to represent different things that you upgraded and like what they're doing. Like, all right, you got fire arrows, right? You start firing fire arrows, and that shows really cool kind of animations. And then the rock, when it kind of starts to get like destroyed, by a lot of stuff. It's almost looks like Dippin' Dots, right? And
Yeah.
that kind of color scheme, and it makes sense. I think it's very simple, pixel art, not a lot of depth, but it adds to the charm of the game, I think,
Yeah.
and the fact that it's so silly, right? And I don't feel like when I'm playing it that I don't. It would be weird if it had like really in depth visuals, right?
Yeah.
Like there's some games like Vampire Survivor is a great example. Like sure, that's very pixel, like kind of sprite animation, but that game I can imagine a almost like a AAA version of it, right? Like
Yeah.
they create like a really cool 3D model character that runs around, does all that stuff. I would not want that with Gnorp.
Yeah.
And it plays really well, and I like it. And I'm a sucker for some pixel art, and it's very fun. I like the art quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the simplicity of it makes it more fun in a way, and it also makes it like I'm just looking at my little Norps walking around right now. Like it's just adorable. Like if they didn't look as kind of simple as they do, I feel like I might not care about them, but I find myself going like, okay, like we're like, good work, fellas. Like it feels like I have kind of my little army with me. And yeah, everything is kind of in a almost like it reminds me of like a DOS like computer, like like kind of the old school like command terminal sort of the way it looks, and especially with the menus and the way the text looks. It's definitely kind of, I would say, inspired by kind of like a retro sort of style. And it also did like because you had mentioned that there are kind of like little tooltips that pop up in the top left as you're playing, and one of them popped up for me, and I don't know if you had seen this, but you can actually, if you like, I think it's like from F1 to like F9. If you press any of those, it actually changes the entire color of like the background.
Oh, I didn't even
So
know that.
like it starts out with like that navy blue, but there actually is like a full black one, which is what I've been playing just because it's like easier on my eyes. But like when the tooltip came up, and this is what I meant with like the game doesn't take itself seriously. It was just like don't press F9. So obviously I go and press F9 or F8 or yeah I think it was F8, and it's like this bright pink that just looks terrible. And like as soon as I did it, I got an achievement, and it was like we told you not to press it, or it said something like that. And I was just like, that's hilarious because that's just something. There's a million different options in this game to have achievements tied to whatever, all these different upgrades you can do. But in the fact that they added one just for that, just made me laugh. And yeah, I think overall like the art style works. The one thing I will say is that like sometimes. Uh, I I get confused of what like once you hover over a building with your mouse, like it tells you what the building is and what the upgrades are that are available, but you have to hover over it. So sometimes I'm like hovering over these things, going like, okay, what was this building again, or what was this one? So that's probably just more about me like learning what these kind of buildings look like. But some of them are just a little similar kind of to each other, just because the art style is so simple. But I wouldn't really say that takes away from like any of the gameplay or just the enjoyment of the game in general. And then also, this is like completely separate from the art. But I was taking a look at their website as well, and they have a great website. If you guys want to check it out, it's just Gnorp.dev. And then they have like a little. The dev has like a little blog on there. It has GIFs and stuff. So you can kind of get an idea of like what the game is. I think it's probably better than the Steam page for just getting an idea what the game is.
Absolutely.
But they actually had a recent post because they've been posting weekly, and it does say that I guess there's an expansion maybe coming for Norp.
Yeah.
That's going to be kind of like the final thing for Norp. But then they're also going to be working on because they want to continue working on games in this genre, which is great. It's kind of what we were talking about of like they have something here. And so they're going to work on an expansion for this game called Norps in Space. Uh,
Yeah.
And it says, Norps in space. It will be a new experience within the game, continuation of the journey of the Norps. And then there's just, they're kind of very early on with it right now. They don't have a release date or anything like that. It does say they did confirm that it says, will Norps in space also get hats? And yes, they will. Okay, so there
Huge.
will be hats in space. Don't worry. But I think that's awesome, and it also kind of plays into the story elements that we were talking about. Where they could probably expand, and obviously Norps in space, that opens up a whole nother kind of area for potential story elements that we can kind of put together as we're playing. But I'm really excited for that now, and apparently it's going to be free. It said it was already paid for with the love for the game, with our love for the game. So that sounds pretty cool to me. But yeah, I think I would love. I'm a Norp fan now. Like I want, I want more Norps. I want Norps in space. I want Norps underground. I want all the Norps. I know that's separate from the art and what we were talking about, but I just noticed it and I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh
But
yeah, I was looking
yeah.
at that same thing. That's where I saw the hats and or the hat announcement.
Oh, cool.
And based on like these blogs, I'm willing to bet this is a one person development team,
Yeah.
and which is really cool, and also really cool that this person is saying, "Well, I made this $7 game. So many of you bought it and are loving it that I don't know how many units sold on Steam. I don't know if we can look at that, but like that has to be huge, right? And now
Yeah.
this indie dev, and this is the coolest thing about indie games, right? This indie dev, Maiko, has the ability to have creative control over something that they created, and because people got behind it and supported it, they are also able to be like comfortable and just make something that they really like continually, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes like indie movies, sometimes like an indie director will have a great movie and then like gets a lot of attention from Hollywood, and then they have to sign a contract where, all right, you can make another good indie movie, but you also have to make Iron Man 10 for us or something like that,
Yeah.
which, maybe they're passionate about that or maybe they're not, but they're kind of, you're almost handcuffed. But this is the cool thing that I like to see. But yeah, Norps in Space sounds amazing, and I hope that there's a lot of expansions for this game.
Yeah.
I wonder what
Yeah.
we're going to rate this game at this point. But let's talk about the music. The music is really cool. It sounds like a like a 64-bit organ. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like a Bach music, but like
Yeah.
futuristic, pixely Bach music. It changes up. It's not the same thing over and over again. We don't have another Vuvuzela situation on our hands here, and it's relaxing, but it's also interesting, which I actually really liked because you're wasting time or whatever, but it has that kind of whimsical silliness to it, right? And
Yeah.
I like the music a lot. I mean, there's not much more to it, right? There's not a lot of sound effects really going on, other than just what you're doing. But the music was really nice, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of wrote down like kind of getting like arcade vibes in a
Mm-hmm.
way. Like I could see this. It obviously wouldn't be in an arcade cabinet because people would be there all day playing it. Um, but that's just kind of the vibes I was getting. Yeah, kind of like that organy sort of music. And yeah, I mean, with a game where the idea is to kill time, like the music has to be good. Otherwise, people aren't going to play it for that long. Now, this is also a game where like you could easily mute the music and like do something else. I think the developer would be fine with that too. That's kind of like the idea of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do think the music delivered, and yeah, I found myself kind of bopping to it a little bit. It was pretty solid, and then also just the sound effects in the game as well, like
Mm-hmm.
outside the music, the way like the different Norp sound, like some of them have grenade launchers and
Yeah.
guns, and it's not, there's a lot going on, but there's not a lot of like distracted sounds. It's not like it's super kind of cluttered sounding. Things are overlapping with each other. I found like it was still pretty tame, but you could hear certain things and you were like, "Oh, okay, that guy just shot his arrow, that guy just shot his gun or whatever it is." And then, you're not getting kind of like a almost like a I don't know, sound effect like diarrhea, I guess is the
Yeah,
best way I
it
could say
doesn't
it.
sound clustered, right? Like it could have
Yeah,
easily just,
exactly.
yeah, like diarrhea is actually a great way to explain how it
Yeah.
could have ended up being.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I thought they hit the nail on the head for that as well. So yeah, really just all around like the sound and the music for the game I thought was great. And uh definitely honestly it had a better music soundtrack than I was thinking it was going to have. I thought it was going to be like a lot weirder just because the game, just the whole premise is like really weird. But no, I thought it was pretty solid and yeah, kind of gave me those like arcadey vibes, which is cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's this game is, and it hey, we'll touch on the performance. It's only on Steam right now. I can't imagine this game not performing well. It's very bare bones, but I didn't run into any issues.
Yeah, same here. I think if this game doesn't run well, it's more on you than the developer or anything. Like it just, I mean, this is a game that also like, it could run on mobile. I imagine the only reason it's not on mobile is maybe just because it might like kill your battery if you're trying to play it all day or something like that. But that is also another possibility for the game because I could see it easily going on mobile. But yeah, no, it's super. It runs super well no matter what. I've like I'm looking at the game right now. There's a ton of stuff going on the screen right now. I'm not getting any like drop frames or anything like that, just because the art style is so simplistic and it's very well optimized. So, yeah, no issues from the performance side for me. But now it's time, Tommy.
We got to give it
Now
a
it's
rating.
time. Yes. And
Well,
just so the listeners know too, we don't know what we're gonna like. Each of us, I don't know what Tommy's gonna say for his rating. We never really talk about our ratings until we're actually recording the show.
yeah.
So, but we can kind of guess maybe based on like
Uh,
how we've been talking about it throughout the show.
it's
But
funny.
yeah,
So, well, let's talk about our ratings. The best rating is Certified Fresh Juice, followed by A Steal, then Get on Sale, Manager Special after that, and then finally Spoiled Milk. Oh, we do talk about milk in this podcast. Um,
yeah,
when I started up the game for the first 5 minutes, I was at A Steal. After that, I bumped right up to Certified Fresh Juice. It was
yeah,
like a no brainer. This game is at $7 and you're supporting like a really independent developer. Like I love that. But like at $7, you might look at this game and be like, seven, like why am I paying money for like something that kind of like looks like this? And then you like actually
yeah.
this is like so well thought out. There's so much great stuff going on. And then like there is the possibility of like playing it differently every time you play it, like different kind of builds and different ways that you put your resources in. So like it's not like you're gonna beat this game and then be done with it. I think you're gonna go back to it. Now, there's also the great possibility I saw that like people are already speed running this game, and there's a record already 9 minutes
Oh
and
wow.
45 seconds. Nine
Oh
minutes
my
and 40,
God.
which I spent like an hour just kind of playing around, like
Yeah.
so that is a great sign for the future of this game. I think and you mentioned mobile, man. This game would slay on mobile. I mean, obviously, I understand that, like, yeah, you'd want to play it all the time, but I think it's almost better built for mobile than Vampire Survivor, which, I know we
Hmm.
keep comparing it to that, but obviously Vampire Survivor on mobile is great too. But the fact that all you have to do is like touch, and then like if you want to move the map, you just double touch with two fingers, and
Yeah.
that is, I mean, this game would be insane on mobile, and it's already insane on PC. But God, yeah, Certified Fresh Juice, game of the game of the year, or actually last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, we're starting off 2024 strong because I'm giving it a certified fresh juice as well.
Woo!
I had the same kind of progression as you where at first I was like, all right, this is a steal. It's $7. Like I'm gonna get a good amount of like it was interesting. It was interesting. And then I noticed, kind of what I mentioned earlier in the pod, like just the depth of the game. And I'm like, wow, like yeah, so I can every run I do, I can really kind of make it different. And the fact that you're supporting a single developer, at least we assume, right,
Yeah.
based on the website, and it's $7, and it's just all around. This is just knocks it out of the park. Every single kind of category we talked about. It's something that I will definitely be playing more of. Just to kill time or whatever it is, I'll just kind of have it up and just kind of chilling, and just kind of managing it. And yeah, I also think it could be like an interesting game to like stream, maybe if you just wanted to kind of do like a maybe like a chatting stream, but you wanted to
Yeah.
have something going on in the background. Like, I think that's awesome. Yeah. So just everything for this game, it really surprised me. And of course, it's got to be like the weirdest game we've ever played, and it's like we're giving it certified fresh juice. It's awesome. So yeah, I love pretty much everything about the game, and I will definitely be following for Norps in space and anything else this dev does in the Norp universe. I'm already in.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Yeah. So great job, just really all around.
Hell yeah, double certified fresh juice. And something
Yeah.
else is cool about it, and I like this as somebody who likes to do both things. You can approach it totally mindless, right? Whatever, I'll just upgrade as I go. Who cares? Or
Yeah.
you could do it totally into like your build and like what to actually focus on, which is kind of neat. And it's a triumph,
Yeah.
and obviously it only takes like something weird like this to like really break through sometimes. So hopefully we see a lot more really cool games like this in 2024 now.
No, this is the peak, actually, Tom. This is it.
It
It's
could be.
downhill
It
from
could
here.
be. You never know.
And this is the first double certified fresh juice we've ever given, too. So that's a pretty big deal there, I would say. So the Gnorp Apologue, if you guys do a trailer for Norps in Space, you can put that as one of the quotes on there. First double certified fresh juice from the Fresh Juice podcast.
I'm hopping in their Discord after this episode.
Oh, yeah.
I'm letting them know, just so you know.
Yeah.
This is certified fresh juice. They're gonna be like, what are you talking about? We have some listener questions. We have one here from MF98170 who asks, what are your preferences for indie games? For example, third person, platformer, etc.
Yeah, interesting question. This is comes from someone I know that I live with. Essentially, what are what do I like, I guess? Like, what's the style of indie game that I am like, okay, if this is kind of the genre, of the game, would I be interested in it if I didn't even see the game? So like for me, I do love third person games. I've always been like a just someone who's just really enjoyed like third person kind of adventure games. But really, I would say overall, I just like simple kind of games. So like a preference for indie games, just something that's not like I mean, we were talking about Norp, but like there have been so many games, like even Cocoon was like it's a simple game, really. At the end of the day, it's not being too complicated. There's not too many buttons to press. So something like that for indie games is really what will kind of like lure me in. And then it becomes more about like what does it look like, like if it really doesn't have a great art style, I'm not going to be super into it. But I think like maybe like if I had to really narrow it down of like what is my dream indie game like genre wise. Oh man, it probably is a platformer. It probably has kind of a 2.5D sort of vibe to it. I always like when platformers kind of have that 2.5D. I think like has the Messenger done that? I know Fez did that. We talked about Fez before, but I always just thought that was really interesting, kind of the mix of 2D and 3D. And then yeah, just something that has like a high replay value. I know there's a lot of games out there that probably check off those boxes that I just mentioned, but that's really what I'm looking for is like simple game, high replay value, and yeah, just something that I'm gonna have fun with. But I know it's kind of a tough question because like we love so many different indie games. But if I had to kind of boil it down to something, I guess that's what I would do.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I mean, it is hard to like pinpoint one thing, but I would say for myself, roguelites or likes,
Yeah.
whatever. I like because I think the replayability of them. Look at like Dead Cells, like Loop Hero, stuff like that. Like just like Enter the Gungeon, just the replayable going on runs to do something is like a lot of fun, and you get a lot of kind of variety when you're playing, which is pretty cool. And then you have the option to kind of be like totally like focused and just like try to beat the game, or you can be like, all right, I'm just gonna like just play it, right? And who cares? I'm gonna go on a couple runs and it's all procedural or whatever. But I also just like, I mean, Dead Cells is a roguelite, but like I like Metroidvanias in general. So anything in that realm. I mean, we talked about a Kickstarter game last week that was a Metroidvania. So like I look at those and that's what I get excited about. Like not Dishonored. That's a. I'm thinking.
Oh,
the
that's
one
an
with
FPS.
the guy with the pointy hat. Oh God, I think the second one just came out. Oh God, it's a 2D Metroidvania, very Dark Souls esque like looking.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
I'm blanking
Oh
on the
man,
name.
what is that called?
It's something like Dishonored. I want to say like because it's very um, like religious, like old religion themed, like
Is
plague
it
era.
Salt and Sanctuary?
No,
No,
it's not that.
no.
It's
Okay.
God, the hell, it doesn't matter.
Oh man. Yeah.
It'll come to
Cult
me.
of the Lamb. No.
No, I do love Cult of
Yeah.
the Lamb. That's another
Yeah.
roguelike. Um,
Yeah.
let me see, indie Metroidvanias, but like, yeah, I think stuff like that, it just ends up
Yeah.
making me get pretty excited. So I don't know. It's a great question though. We do have another question. Let me bring it up here. I got it in my text message. So somebody I know
Oh.
personally. Oh, Blasphemous is the name of the game,
Oh, Blasphemous, right?
which is
Yeah.
so
Okay.
good. I do recommend that game. You've done quite a few chess games at this point. Yes, we have. We've done 2, which is a lot.
Yeah.
No, it's a large percentage of our episodes. Are there any other classic games you would like to see reimagined in the indie world?
Great question. Do you have anything in mind?
So when I think about this, I like to think about like taking the rules and applying it to something really interesting I've seen on some mobile games was like a dungeon crawler, like kind of like one step at a time dungeon crawler, where when you hit or you run into an enemy, you play a blackjack hand in a way, like a
Oh,
themed
interesting.
blackjack hand, and you have to like
Yeah.
try to beat the opponent or the dealer, which is your enemy, with your blackjack hand. And certain enemies didn't have to go to 17; they only had to go to 10, so it's a lot easier to beat them. And that was a really cool thing. But in terms of other really classic games, I think a lot of card games are interesting to me. Like War is a pretty like
Yeah.
simple one that you could do, but like also, and I think a lot of combat systems work like that in a lot of RPGs anyway. But poker, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think like card games, like classic card games, are a great way to imagine something in a different world.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I was thinking of like right away, I just started thinking about like solitaire. I know there's been a lot of different takes on solitaire, but I always like to see it kind of more twisted, right? In a similar way of like Chessorama, like when we played that, like it's not really chess, but you're just using chess pieces and they behave like chess pieces, but everything else around it's different. I would like to see that. I mean, I don't know how you would do it for like something like solitaire, but that would be awesome. Or even like Minesweeper. Like I think it'd be really interesting to do like a first person Minesweeper or something like that. Like how would that work? Like maybe it's a bunch of doors or whatever that you open up and like maybe there's like a bomb in there or whatever it is. But then outside of like those kind of like games, um, because I just looked up. I was just looking up, like, just to kind of get my wheels spinning there. Just like classic, like kind of like physical games, that would be cool to remaster and kind of do it in a different way. And Dodgeball came up, and then
Mm,
we were talking about Knockout City,
that was a cool
right? And
game.
like that had, unfortunately, that game is no longer. But that game, like, I would love to see that something like that again, because it wasn't exactly dodgeball, right? It's not the exact rules of dodgeball, but you have a dodgeball and you're throwing it at people and they can catch it, and you're kind of running around the map and doing like a few different things. But um, I really thought that was a cool twist on dodgeball. I would like to see that. They've done that with like hide and seek. They've done that before with like different games. Like, I'm just looking, like, there's like hopscotch or like cornhole, like even like little paper football, like that could be cool. I don't know, something like that where the dodgeball thing was just so well done that I'm just like, okay, what else can we do that with? That's gonna work. Darts. I don't know. Like, is that possible to maybe you're throwing darts and like there's actual players on the dartboard that are like trying to, like, I don't know, like dodge out of the way or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not a game designer, but I do like the idea of kind of taking those classical games and kind of twisting them in different ways. And also it's reintroducing those games or introducing those games to a new generation, I'm sure,
Hmm.
as well. I'm sure there were kids out there that never played dodgeball before and played Knockout City and maybe thought it was fun, and they bought a dodgeball on Amazon the next day and they play with their friends or whatever it is. So stuff like that is definitely really cool. And I think chess is also probably one of the easier ones to really
Yeah.
start with, because there's just so much strategy involved with chess, so many different moving pieces. Like, there's just so many ideas you could have with chess. It's probably one of the more easier ones, but I do like that idea that you mentioned of the blackjack. That was pretty interesting, and I could see that being integrated into a lot of different games. Maybe every time you, I don't know, bump into someone, it's roulette or something like that. Like, you could easily swap that out with like other games from the casino. But yeah, definitely interesting question.
Yeah, actually, here's an idea. A
Yeah.
fighting game, right? Like a classic fighting game where you never actually hit the opponent because in the center of the screen there's a pole and it's tetherball. And you have to like do
Oh,
combos like and time it correctly as the ball's coming around and you just have to be better at comboing, right? You don't have
yeah,
to be like better at like blocking and attacking or whatever. And you just gotta like be really good at like timing the tetherball. It would be kind of
yeah.
cool when you get like power ups and stuff like that. I think that would be kind of. It would be hard to do a whole game on it, but I'm sure that you could probably expand on that. But that'd be kind of neat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that could even be a really cool, like, mode, like a special mode in like a fighting game that already exists as well. Like, I think that'd be awesome. Rocket League kind of does that similar stuff. They have like a basketball mode, an ice hockey
Oh yeah.
mode. It's kind of special edition, so or special whatever, yeah, special edition, I guess. But no, that's a really cool idea. I'm already picturing it in my head of
Yeah.
like how it could look with slow mo and like different moves that like move the ball in different ways or whatever it is. You can tag in and tag out. That'd be pretty sweet.
Or like you
Yeah,
hit
good
it,
idea.
like maybe you hit like do an ice move, and your opponent has to do a fire move to counter it, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
you got to make them think on their feet. Oh man, that'd be really cool. But
yeah. So
but
if any devs out there are listening and they make it, we'll review it for you. All
yeah,
right, just let us know when it's up, when it's live. We're
absolutely.
dropping gold on the pod all the time. All these great ideas.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Now, thank you for the
Yeah.
question. Username curly headed dump truck, and we really appreciate you. Now, it's the end of the show. We're here at the Rec Room. What do you have to recommend for people that maybe isn't an indie game?
Yeah. So I mean, it's hard to not recommend the Gnorp Apologues. I know we've just talked about the whole show, and I was trying to think like what else I could recommend because I'm kind of like stuck on it. But the only thing that kept popping in my head was rice balls,
Oh
of
yeah,
like
yeah.
just really good rice balls that we had at our New Year's Eve party that one of our friends had made, and she makes great rice balls. She's made them for a while. But to be honest, I have never been like a big rice ball guy. Like I've had some rice balls. I'm just like, like I don't know. It's just, why is there rice in here? Like, but like the way she makes them is just like, it's just like cheesy and ricey and just like perfectly golden brown. We just had some like on the side with dinner earlier, and just killer, man. So if anyone out there can just find some really good rice balls, go have one today. For me, go have one. Start the year off right.
Hell yeah, they are good. They hit better than most rice balls, I will say.
Yeah.
I guess I'll recommend something that we've been making at parties now for a couple parties in a row. Those pepperoncinis you get, like so basically it's a Italian jalapeno popper. So you do a pepperoncini, you cut it in half. Like these are the peppers that you'll get like on like a salad, like at the Olive Garden. They put it in the unlimited salad, right? And sometimes they could be a little spicy, but they're really not. They're a little bit more tangy. So you cut it open, you slice them in half, you fill it with like mozzarella, cream cheese, and Parmesan, like a mix. And then you wrap it with prosciutto, which is, and I don't know, I eat half of them while I'm making them. And, they're just so good. So like maybe the recommendation is like start looking outside the box for appetizers, right? Party favors. I mean, hell, our friend Pat brought this French onion focaccia that was like insane, and like, God, oh man,
yeah. And he was just, I found out, for those who don't know, like our buddy Pat, he's good at making food. He has been for a while, and apparently he had just like seen that recipe, or he saw like someone had made that, and he was like, oh, I'll make that. And I think he just like whipped it up. Yep. He was just like, I'll just put that together. It was delicious. I don't even know how many pieces of that I had, but yeah, find some great apps. Think outside the box. You don't always need the pigs in a blanket all the time. They're good, but maybe think outside the box. You can even just put a little everything bagel seasoning on your pigs in a blanket, which is just delicious as well. And that, it's not crazy, but it's better than what it was. So just think outside the box this year.
Think about the first time you had buffalo chicken dip, right? That's a rather new addition. Like in the grand scheme of the history of appetizers, buffalo chicken dip is a newer addition.
Yeah.
Create the new buffalo chicken dip, right?
Yeah.
Be the buffalo chicken dip. And with that, we'll say our goodbyes and we'll talk to you next week. Stay fresh. Juice heads. Actually, no, we got to plug stuff. I don't know. I'm all out of sorts, man. It's been a long day.
I know. It has been.
You can find me at Fresh Buds Pod. I have another podcast called Fresh and Buds. I just painted myself green yesterday to film a video for a card from the game Flesh and Blood that I'm going to spoil and preview in 2 weeks. Very excited to do that. Our mutual cousin Dan came and helped, and as well as my sister and her boyfriend. And maybe I'll plug that when it comes out because it's gonna be a funny video. So I hope anyway. But find me there, Fresh Juice Pod, for all of our stuff. And where can people find you, Matt?
Yeah, feel free to find me at Matty Gorm, Gorm, on all the socials and everything. I've been posting a good amount on YouTube these days for a game called Once Human that we've talked about on the podcast before that I've been having a great time with. And I've also been streaming over on twitch.tv/Matty Gorm. So feel free to check me out over there if you would like to. Say hello, say what's up. And we should also probably get that Discord started for Fresh Juice. So, once that's live, follow our Twitter. You can check that out. I'm sure we'll tweet about it there. And feel free to join. But, everybody just keep Gnorping this year. Keep Gnorping.
Gnorp. And with that, stay Gnorp heads.